All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Picture this. You're settling into the living room, or maybe you're packing into the car for a long road trip. And the battle begins. You know the one. The classic everyday bickering over who gets to pick the Netflix show, who's holding the TV remote, or who gets to queue up the Spotify playlist. It happens in pretty much every household, right? Now, on the surface, it just feels like a simple clash of tastes. But as we're going to see today, psychology tells us a totally different, honestly fascinating story about what's actually going on in those moments. So let me ask you, have you ever been in a room and felt this absolutely overwhelming need to be the one holding the remote? Like you just have to command the background noise. Now, you probably know that to everyone else sitting there, it kind of makes you look overly picky, or let's be honest, maybe a little bossy. And hey, if it's not you doing it, you definitely know someone who is. We all have that one friend or family member who literally lunges for the aux cable the second they sit down. But here's where we get a total paradigm shift. Externally, sure, it looks like this person is just super bossy and completely obsessed with their own taste in entertainment. But internally, what it actually is a mechanism for managing stress. Yes, psychology tells us this behavior isn't really about your taste in music or TV at all. Instead, it's this highly specific psychological blueprint your mind uses to navigate an unpredictable internal world. It's basically a mental survival tactic. Let's actually slow down for a second and look at the formal definition here. Media control is the act of using external stimuli to maintain a sense of stability when the internal world feels chaotic. So the crucial point is this. When a person's thoughts, emotions, or just everyday stressors are swirling wildly out of control inside their head, they instinctively reach for something outside of themselves to anchor them, like the TV or the stereo. By controlling that audio and visual environment, they're desperately trying to build a stable foundation to stand on mentally. Which brings us to part one, craving control and calm, and finding stability in sound. Let's see how this actually plays out in real life. I mean, life can feel incredibly messy. Work is stressful, relationships get complicated, and our daily problems just create this massive amount of uncertainty. Because of all that, your mind develops a deep, desperate need for stability. When everything else feels completely out of your hands, grounding yourself through familiar media gives you something you can actually control. Knowing exactly what's playing creates this really powerful sense of stability when the rest of the world feels totally uncertain. Controlling the TV literally becomes a way to stay grounded. You can kind of think of it as a simple equation. Organized surroundings equal calmer thoughts. We usually think about this with physical clutter, right? Like how a messy room makes you feel super stressed out. But it totally applies to auditory and visual clutter too. When you grab the remote, you're trying to prevent mental overstimulation. Unpredictable noise or flashing chaotic visuals from a TV can overstimulate the brain and dramatically spike your stress. But when your surroundings are organized with music or shows that you specifically chose, your thoughts instantly feel calmer. Knowing exactly what to expect next from the speakers helps you think clearly and just focus better. All right, moving on to part two, the suspicion of silence and removing hidden tension. I really want you to let this next thought sink in. Silence feels suspicious. Seriously, for an overthinking mind, silence isn't peaceful at all. It feels highly suspicious, and that uncertainty is just incredibly uncomfortable mentally. Why? Well, because an overthinking mind absolutely hates unfinished answers. If there's dead silence, your mind is forced to just sit there with its own chaotic, unresolved thoughts, constantly searching for certainty that just isn't there. So you use the TV or the music to fill the room because playing familiar media forcefully stops that discomfort from taking over. Let's walk through how this happens step by step. First, unpredictable background noise, or, that suspicious silence we just talked about, creates this hidden low-level tension. Even if you don't instantly notice it on a conscious level, your brain is absorbing that chaotic environment and building up mental pressure. Then, step two. By taking control of the media, you actively remove that pressure. You take the reins. And finally, step three. Finding relief in those familiar choices gives your highly stimulated mind permission to finally relax. This leads us to part three, managing the internal chaos and fixing the details. This contrast right here brilliantly illustrates the dynamic at play. You've got external chaos on one side, like an unpredictable playlist someone else put on, or a really loud, jarring commercial. And then on the other side, you have internal chaos, overthinking, daily stress, emotional overload. When these two collide, it drastically disrupts your focus. And here's the thing, some people are naturally way more detail-oriented. Their brains are incredibly quick to spot things that feel visually or auditorily off. because they notice those small changes so fast, external chaos can violently worsen their internal chaos. So controlling the media is how you fix that external disruption almost automatically. It's how you actively protect your mental space. Ultimately, the goal is simple: turning chaos into something manageable. Remember, daily problems create uncertainty, and uncertainty creates really heavy stress. By controlling the media in the room, you're actively deploying a vital coping mechanism during moments of emotional overload. You're taking back a sense of control. You are literally turning the chaos of your day into a manageable, predictable 30-minute sitcom episode or your absolute favorite album. It takes this huge, overwhelming world and just shrinks it down into a safe, controllable little box.
And that brings us to our final section: reframing the behavior, a journey of empathy. This is really the ultimate aha moment for today's explainer. It's not just about being picky. It's about how your mind works and how it learned to handle the world. Once you understand these deep psychological patterns, you kind of have to start seeing human behavior in a totally different way. That person aggressively curating the Spotify playlist, they aren't trying to dominate your music taste. Actually, their mind is just using a learned coping mechanism to handle the overwhelming nature of the world around them. Understanding that, it unlocks a tremendous amount of empathy. So I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on. The next time you're sitting in the living room and someone immediately lunges and grabs that remote, what are they really trying to control? Are they just picking a movie? Or are they trying to bring order to their own internal chaos? Think about that the next time you find yourself fighting over the TV. I really hope this explainer shifted your perspective today. Keep analyzing the world around you, and we'll catch you in the next one.